On my birthday, my son discovered the heartwarming truth behind his life-changing mistake. Jake stared at his phone, heart racing as he imagined the surprise party he'd throw for his 16th birthday. He felt electric, buzzing with excitement. This would be the moment where he finally fit in with his friends. In their quaint suburban town, missing the latest gadgets or the coolest shoes pushed him to the sidelines. But he had a plan. 2 shifts at the fast food joint had padded his savings enough to cover a night his classmates wouldn't forget. He envisioned laughter, music, and a sense of belonging. His mom, Sarah, a paragon of strength, tirelessly juggled 2 jobs to keep their small home afloat. She worked long hours, hardly home before he fell asleep. But Jake didn't even think to mention his plans to her. This was about him proving that he belonged, that he could carve out a space in high school, free from the shadow of economic inequality that often weighed on him. As the day approached, anticipation swelled within him. The morning of his birthday arrived with sunshine streaming through the window. Jake could hardly contain his glee. He sent out the invites, everyone was in. However, as evening fell, instead of his cozy family gathering, the door opened to a flood of unfamiliar faces. His heart sank. The laughter, the noise. It was chaos, with teens spiking the punch and blasting music. Jake's heart raced with pride, but the joy quickly melted into panic. The boundaries of fun blurred, and hilarity turned into recklessness. Tables flipped, chips scattered, and suddenly, his friend's movement sent a drink flying towards Mr. Thompson, a beloved veteran. The man had helped repair their house after the last storm, his wisdom woven into the fabric of their lives. Watching the drink drench him, Jake's stomach dropped at the sight. "Jake!" Mr. Thompson bellowed, shock etched across his face. With each moment passing, tension thickened in the room. The laughter faded as Jake felt the weight of guilt pressing on him. This was no longer fun, it felt like a nightmare unfolding right in his living room. And just like that, his birthday transformed into a festival of chaos and conflict. Suddenly, he understood the pearls of wisdom his mom often whispered, reminders of integrity, of respect, and the essence of family bonds. As he stood frozen amidst the mayhem, Jake's heart sank deeper. He wasn't just facing consequences, he was at the edge of losing something precious. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake swallowed hard, his decisions swirling around him like a storm. Could he fix this? Apologies tangled with shame filled his thoughts as he sought out Mr. Thompson, desperate for the words that could mend the rift he had caused. The evening continued its uproar around him, but all he could see was his mom's face, hurt and misunderstood. Would she ever forgive him for losing sight of what truly mattered? Would he make it right with Mr. Thompson? As the memories flooded back of moments spent with family, of shared laughter in their modest home, Jake knew he needed to act. The door behind him, ajar and inviting, hung like a promise or a question. Would he step through to embrace responsibility, or retreat into guilt? Jake's mind raced as he stood amidst the chaos, a whirlwind of voices and laughter drowning out his thoughts. The party that was meant to signal his coming of age had turned into a nightmare. He blinked hard, pushing back the threat of tears. How could something so exciting spiral so quickly out of control? Jake. Mr. Thompson's voice echoed through the room again, each syllable laced with disappointment. That call reverberated in Jake's chest, a painful reminder of what he had lost, the trust not only of Mr. Thompson but of his family and friends, too. He glanced around the room, taking in the remnants of misplaced joy. Faces he'd once longed to see enjoying themselves now blurred into a tapestry of confusion. His friends were no longer laughing. Instead, they appeared uncertain and uncomfortable. Some were openly whispering their judgments, their expressions turning from amusement to disdain. In that instant, the exhilaration that had filled his chest like helium popped, leaving only guilt and shame in its wake. He could feel the weight of the moment crash down on him, and he moved instinctively toward Mr. Thompson, careful to sidestep spilled punch and scattered snacks. "Mr. Thompson," he began, voice shaky as he approached the older man. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." His words tumbled out in a mix of desperation and urgency, a plea for understanding. Mr. Thompson looked down at him, eyes hard but softening around the edges. "Jake, you're a good kid, but you need to learn to take responsibility." His face was stained with colorful drink, and Jake felt his heart clench. "These kids aren't like you. They don't understand what it means to be part of a community." Hearing those words sent a wave of realization crashing over him. This wasn't just about a spilled drink, it was a reflection of how far he had strayed from his values in pursuit of acceptance. Images of his mother flashed in his mind, her sacrifices, her teachings, and how he'd lost sight of them all in this moment of chaos. "Please," he said, a bit louder now. "I'll clean it up. I promise to make this right. Just give me a chance." His eyes were locked on Mr. Thompson's, pleading for a sliver of hope, a hint that forgiveness wasn't completely out of reach. Mr. Thompson sighed deeply, the fight seeming to drain from his posture. "All right, Jake. Responsibility starts with acknowledging your actions. Let's clean this mess up together." A flicker of a smile crossed his lips, a softening of spirits that reignited a glimmer of hope. Jake felt a rush of warmth as the old man placed a hand on his shoulder. Perhaps this was his opportunity. With the feeling of shame morphing into determination, he rallied the few friends who still hovered nearby. "Come on, guys. Let us fix this. I need your help." Slowly, a couple of them stepped forward, awkward fullness replacing their earlier discomfort. As they began picking up chips and mopping up drinks, a new sense of camaraderie formed amidst the space of disarray. The joviality had been replaced by teamwork and resolve, but deep within, Jake knew the journey was only beginning. He glanced at the chaos still surrounding him, but instead of fear, he felt something different, a spark of purpose igniting within. As they cleaned, Jake's thoughts turned to his mom. She would be home soon. What would he tell her? How could he face her after this disaster of a birthday? Would she understand, or had he gone too far into the depths of despair? That question lingered like a cloud overhead, waiting for the moment he would have to confront reality once again. And as he scrubbed away the remnants of his 13th-hour victory, he hoped he could find the words to make this right before the night fully slipped away. Would his mom still see him as the son she raised, or would this be another mark against him in her eyes? The answer lingered just out of reach, and Jake felt a shudder of anxiety creep up on him. Time was running out. Jake wiped a sweat-soaked brow as he scrunched up a handful of colored napkins. The mess seemed insurmountable, but a strange energy pulsed in his veins. With each crumpled scrap tossed aside, he felt the weight of his earlier embarrassment begin to lighten. His friends chipped in, awkward laughter bubbling up as they struggled to reclaim what had once been a celebration. "Hey, remember that time Jake accidentally set off the water balloon fight?" Kevin joked, flashing a quick grin. It was a moment that broke the tension, easing them back into the rhythm of friendship. Jake chuckled, memories flooding back. "Yeah. And my mom almost flipped when she found the mess in the backyard," Jake replied, a small smile spreading across his face. They laughed, and for a moment, the haze of disappointment began to lift. As they worked, Jake stole glances at Mr. Thompson. The man coordinated their efforts with patient precision, encouraging, guiding, and reminding them that it was okay to mess up as long as they took responsibility. He loved the way Mr. Thompson rooted for them, his faith shining through like a lighthouse cutting through fog. Would he ever be able to embody that kind of strength? When they finished, the room looked almost untouched, the chaotic night transformed into a clean slate. Jake felt an odd sense of accomplishment swelling in his chest. Would this give him the courage to face his mother? His heart raced just at the thought. The sound of the door creaking open made everyone freeze. Jake's stomach twisted. "Mom." His voice barely came out above a whisper. She stepped inside, her eyes widening at the unexpected sight of the tidy room, but the warmth of her smile softened his worry. "Jake. I thought I'd find you here." She paused, noticing the remnants of the earlier mayhem. "I got your text. Is everything all right?" Yeah." Jake swallowed, wrestling with his words. "It kind of turned into a mess, but we cleaned it up." He gestured, slightly embarrassed. His mother walked closer, her expression shifting from concern to pride. "You took responsibility for your actions. That's really important, you know." Suddenly, the laughter from his friends faded into the background, his mother's words drumming through his soul. Would she truly see him the way he longed to be seen? The boy who had made a mistake but was ready to change? "Can we talk?" he asked, his heart pounding. This was it. She raised an eyebrow, a flicker of curiosity passing through her gaze as she stepped forward, giving him her full attention. Jake felt a rush of hope. "Right now?" she asked, glancing at his friends. "Yeah. It's kinda important." The weight of the moment pressed upon him, but inside, a surge of courage anchored him. With a gentle nod, his mother motioned for him to lead. They moved away from the crowd, Jake's mind racing. He needed to explain everything: the shame, the realization, what they had just done, and what it meant. As they walked toward a quieter part of the house, the beating of his heart synced with the spiral of thoughts. What if she didn't understand? What if this conversation changed everything for the worse? But as his mother turned to him, kindness radiating from her expression, he could feel that there was an opening. A crack had formed in the darkness of doubt. Could this be a new beginning? Taking a deep breath, he prepared to spill his heart, ready to confront the lingering shadows of his mistake. "Mom, I need to tell you." His voice trailed off, caught between fear and hope. The air was thick with unspoken truths and the promise of healing. What weighty revelation would emerge from their conversation? Would he finally uncover the deeper truth about himself, or would this moment of honesty lead to an unexpected fracture in their bond? Jake's breath caught in his throat, the words swimming on the edge of his tongue. This was at the moment he'd been circling like a moth around a flame. His mother, always the comforting presence, now stood a few feet away, her brow furrowing in worry, and it sent a jolt of panic through him. "Mom, I need to tell you," he began, the urgency of his emotions almost overwhelming him. "I messed up again. At the party, I was just trying to have fun, but I didn't think. I thought I could handle it all, and..." He paused, his voice shaky. "I didn't. I let everyone down." The words rushed out of him, tumbling like a waterfall. With every confession, he felt a weight lifting, yet his chest still tightened with the fear of her reaction. Would she be angry? Disappointed? She stepped closer, attentively listening, her eyes softening as he spoke. "When everything went crazy, it felt like I was losing control. I should have cleaned up sooner. I should have thought about how it would affect everyone." He looked down, biting his lip, ashamed of his failure. "But it was so much, and I panicked." For a moment, silence hung between them, thick and heavy. Jake avoided her gaze, tracing invisible patterns on the floor with his shoe. The quiet felt like an eternity, his heart beating loudly in his ears. Finally, she reached out, lifting his chin gently so that their eyes met. "Jake," she said softly, "you're not a failure for making mistakes. It happens to everyone." Jake blinked, incredulous. He swallowed hard, processing her words as they lingered in the air. "But I still feel like I could have done better. I should have done better. You're only human." Her voice was calm, wrapping around him like a warm blanket. "We learn from the mistakes we make. It doesn't define who we are. What matters is how we respond to them." He felt the warmth of her reassurance seep into his bones, calming the tempest of guilt raging inside him. "But I don't want to keep messing up," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, her expression turning serious. I know. We all want to improve. You're learning, and that's important. Just remember, I'm here through it all. You don't have to go it alone. Jake's heart swelled, hope glimmering in the shadows of doubt. Did this mean they were truly starting to build something new? A bond not just grounded in expectations, but in understanding and love. But before he could respond, the laughter of his friends echoed through the hallway, a stark reminder of the world outside this intimate moment. They were waiting for him, but he was torn. This conversation felt monumental, filled with potential and change. Mom, he said suddenly, the weight of realization settling in, it's not just about me. It's about us, isn't it? She smiled, and it was like the sun breaking through clouds. Exactly. It's about finding our way together. As he considered the weight of her words, a sense of peace enveloped him. But lingering questions danced in the back of his mind. Would he be able to keep this newfound understanding? Could they tackle future challenges side by side rather than as separate islands? Just then, Kevin poked his head around the corner. Hey, lovebirds. We need Jake out here to help finish the ice cream. Jake's heart sank a little. They couldn't pause this newfound connection, it felt too vital. But he knew he couldn't hide forever from life. Just a sec. Jake called back, turning to his mom, the urgency of the moment slipping through his fingers. What would it mean for them to combine healing with celebration? As they stood there, sharing a moment of unity, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was merely the beginning. He felt like a diver poised on the edge of a cliff, ready to plunge into the unknown. Might not be the only thing that needs fixing, he mused out loud, gauging her reaction. Maybe we should talk about everything that's been building up? She nodded, her expression earnest. Yes, that sounds important. The promise of deeper truths echoed between them as Jake took a deep breath, ready to leap into both discomfort and hope. What conversations lay ahead, and what layers of their relationship awaited discovery? Jake hesitated as he glanced toward the hallway where Kevin was still leaning, a wide grin plastered on his face. Moments felt precious, almost tangible, as he stood at this crossroads with his mom. The echoes of laughter from his friends felt both distant and close, a reminder of the celebration waiting just beyond that door. But here, in this small bubble of truth, he recognized that something had shifted between them. Okay, he said, a newfound determination igniting within him. Let us talk. All right, his mom replied, her voice steady. What do you want to say? Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the world resting on his shoulders. I think I've been hiding behind a mask for too long. Trying to be someone everyone else wants me to be. Jake, she started, but he cut her off, needing to spill everything out. I don't want to just go through the motions. The parties, the friends, the expectations, it all feels so heavy sometimes. I want to be me, and I'm not even sure who that is anymore. His mother's gaze held his, her eyes were understanding, a reflection of the struggles that had lived in the spaces between them. Have you felt that way for a while? She asked gently, almost cautiously, as if handling something fragile. He nodded, warmth creeping into his cheeks as shame bubbled within him. Especially when I try to impress everyone, like I did at the party. It just leads to chaos. Chaos is part of growing up, sweetie. We all make mistakes, especially when we're trying to fit in, she said softly. But it sounds like you're recognizing it. That's a big step. Jake let out a shaky breath, her words wrapping around him like a lifeline. But what if I keep making the same mistakes? What if I let you down again? She reached out and placed her hand on his arm, a reassuring squeeze grounding him. You won. Each time we fall, we learn to get back up stronger. It might feel like you're in a loop now, but that doesn't mean you can't break free. What if I can't do that? What if I'm stuck forever? The fear simmered beneath his words, raw and unpolished. Jake, she said firmly, you've already taken the hardest step by being honest. You're learning, and together, we can figure this out. Just remember, growth is messy, and it's not always a straight line. Her words soothed his turbulent thoughts, like a bandage over a wound. Yet, behind her confidence, he sensed remnants of her own struggles, her own fears clashing with her hopes for him. Can I ask you something? He said abruptly, curiosity pushing aside the fear. Why didn't we ever talk like this before? Why did it take me messing up to open up? Her face went still for a moment, a flicker of vulnerability passing through. I think I was afraid, too. I wanted to protect you from my own mistakes, from the pain I felt. I didn't want to burden you. Mom, you never had to be perfect. I needed to know you're human, just like me. If I had understood that sooner, it might have made everything easier. A tear glimmered in her eye as a smile played on her lips. We're growing together, Jake. That's all we can do. They stood in silence, the world outside spinning on, unaware of the turning point unfolding in that little living room. Jake felt the heavy storm clouds of doubt begin to part, letting hints of light seep in. Kevin's gonna think we're having a heart-to-heart, Jake joked, trying to break the weight of their moment. She chuckled, her spirit lifting. Well, maybe we should give him a show. Just then, Kevin called again, louder this time. Seriously, Jake. Ice cream waits for no one. Jake shared a conspiratorial smile with his mom. This was only the beginning for them. They were in this together. I guess we better get out there, he said, the excitement bubbling inside him. Yet as he turned toward the hallway, a thought lingered. Were they ready to tackle even deeper conversations? Would his mother be able to share her own fears openly, too? Can we keep this going? He asked, glancing back at her. All of it? She nodded, her expression resolute. Always. Just know I'm right here, ready for whatever comes next. Jake smiled and stepped into the hallway, but as laughter erupted around him, he couldn't shake the feeling that the most profound transformation was still ahead. What deeper shadows might they confront together? The energy of the party pulled Jake back into its swirling embrace, laughter echoing off the walls like a delightful symphony. The bright lights flickered, casting a warm glow that felt both festive and a little overwhelming. As he stepped into the bustling crowd, he caught sight of Kevin, who immediately waved him over, a heaping bowl of ice cream in one hand and a grin plastered across his face. Finally. I thought you were gonna abandon us. Kevin exclaimed, diving into a play-by-play of every hilarious mishap that had occurred while Jake was in the other room. Jake listened, but his mind flickered back to the conversation with his mom. The pang of honesty they'd shared felt like a soft ember still glowing in his chest, comforting yet stirring a desire for deeper connection. Reluctantly, he joined the others, laughing along as they joked about inside jokes and silly moments from school. But watching his friends, he felt the weight of the mask he'd worn tightly before. He laughed, sure, but it was punctuated with a new awareness that his voice in this crowd mattered as much as anyone else's. While Kevin animatedly reminisced about their favorite video games, undercurrents of unease threaded through Jake's thoughts. The question of wanting to be genuinely seen gnawed at him still. It struck him that he yearned to take steps beyond the facade he had built, to explore what it meant to be truly vulnerable, just as he had with his mom. That moment, he spotted a cluster of his friends crowded around a table, the familiar faces lit with excitement. Among them stood Michaela, the girl he had admired from afar, her bright laughter cutting through the din. Was it foolish to think she might be drawn to him if he stepped out from behind his own carefully crafted image? Kevin nudged him playfully. You've been staring. You gonna make a move? Jake's heart raced. What do you mean? He feigned ignorance, though his cheeks colored. You know. Say something. Be cool. Kevin encouraged, nodding toward Michaela, who had turned his way, a curious smile on her lips. The decision weighed heavily on him. Part of him wanted to bolt, to retreat into the comfort of the familiar noise, but another part, a bolder part driven by that conversation with his mom, urged him to take the leap. "Okay, I'll try," Jake said, his voice a low murmur filled with determination. Sensing an internal shift, Kevin gave him an exaggerated thumbs up before turning back to his ice cream. Jake took a deep breath and approached Michaela, his heart drumming erratically. "Hey. So, how was your ice cream?" She looked up, surprise flickering in her eyes, but then a warm smile unfurled. "Delicious. You should try the mint chocolate chip. It's the best." Jake laughed, feeling the initial tremors of nervousness begin to ease. "Actually, I might have to. Are you planning on having a second bowl?" Her laughter was bright and genuine. "Maybe. We'll see how adventurous I'm feeling." The conversation flowed, weaving effortlessly as they discussed more than just ice cream. It felt fulfilling, their interaction unlayering the tension and discomfort that had held Jake back for so long. With every word shared, he felt the mask slip away, piece by piece. Then he recalled his mom's words, "Growth is messy." Maybe this was the mess of growth he needed, uncertain, but thrilling. Later that night, as the laughter faded and shadows lengthened, he saw his mom across the room. She caught his eye and gave him a smile overflowing with encouragement. He knew she was proud. And in that moment, he felt encouraged in return, but he couldn't shake the question lurking in the corners of his mind. What would happen when the party was over? Would he be able to hold on to this new perspective when the familiar pressures crept back in? As the last of the lights dimmed and friends bid their goodbyes, Jake stood in the doorway, watching. This newfound courage was just the beginning. What challenges awaited him when reality set back in? Jake lingered at the doorway, his mind racing with thoughts that darted around like fireflies in the night. The laughter from the party still echoed in his ears, but it felt distant now that he was standing alone, away from the warmth of his friends. The weight of uncertainty wrapped around him like a heavy cloak. Would he revert to his old self, the one that hid behind jokes and surfaces? He turned to find Kevin chatting animatedly with a group by the snack table. "You coming over, Jake?" he shouted, sparking a burst of laughter. But Jake hesitated. Instead, he pulled out his phone, thumbing through messages, avoiding eye contact. The glow of the screen illuminated his anxious expression. "Hey, everything okay?" Michaela's voice cut through. She stood next to him, her curiosity clear in her eyes. "You seem different." He swallowed hard, the heaviness in his chest resurfacing. "Just thinking," he replied, voice barely more than a whisper. "Thinking's good," she said, her kindness wrapping around him. "But don't think too much. You'll miss out." She nudged him playfully, and he felt his defenses drop a little more. Her words were like a gentle push toward the edge he'd been hesitant to approach. "Yeah, I guess you're right," he said, trying to conjure up a smile. "Can you believe we're almost seniors? Crazy, right? It feels like we just started high school," she laughed, and Jake couldn't help but join in. An unexpected surge of warmth filled him, laced with the realization of how far he had come in just one night. He had opened up to her, taken risks. Yet the shadow of doubt still loomed. Could he maintain this newfound openness once the thrill of the party faded? Just then, the music shifted to a softer tune, creating a more intimate atmosphere. Couples swayed gently on the dance floor, the room pulsating with warmth. Jake felt a pull in his chest, an urge to break through his barriers even more. "Do you want to dance?" he blurted, before he could second-guess himself. The question tumbled out, wrapped in a mix of excitement and trepidation. Michaela's surprise quickly morphed into a delighted smile. "I'd love to." Jake's heart leaped. The two found a spot at the edge of the dance floor, where the crowd was denser but not overwhelming. He tried to move with the rhythm, his mind racing with the steps and the sounds around him. Each spin, each sway felt electrifying, but he was acutely aware of their bodies breaching the space of friendship. For a few beats, he lost himself, lost in the music that brought everything to life. Michaela's laughter mingled with the notes, and he held on to her gaze, feeling his earlier doubts begin to dissolve. "See? You can totally do this," she shouted over the music, making him laugh again. The lightness of the moment pushed away the heaviness in his heart, but as the song wound down, the reality settled back in, bringing everything crashing to the forefront again. What would happen tomorrow when they returned to their roles? Would she still see him, not as the mask but as Jake? He could feel the walls quietly creeping back up, the familiar defenses ready to shield him from vulnerability. That was fun. Michaela smiled, breathless. "Let us definitely do this again." "Right," Jake replied, but even to himself, he sounded unsure. Michaela tilted her head, concern flashing across her face. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," he wanted to say. But inside, he felt a conflict brewing, a need to be brave and a fear of reverting to the same old Jake who held everything in. He inhaled deeply. I don't want it all to change. Sometimes change is good, you know? It means we're growing." She stepped closer, and he could feel the warmth radiating from her. In her eyes was the encouragement he needed, but he hesitated. Before he could speak again, Kevin rejoined them, waving excitedly. "Hey! We're gonna head outside for a bonfire. Want to come?" Jake looked at Michaela, then back at Kevin. The prospect of a lively bonfire filled with laughter and stories was enticing. Freedom. But what if he lost this moment with Michaela? "Yeah, let us go," Jake finally replied, pushing past the uncertainty. As Kevin led the way, Jake felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. He still had a long road ahead, but tonight, he was ready to face whatever came with open arms. Maybe growing up meant being okay with the messiness. With every step toward the bonfire, his heart swelled with questions. Would he find a new way to navigate his friendships? Would he let go of the past and embrace the possibilities ahead? The warmth of firelight awaited him, but so did the echoes of uncertainty. Suddenly, a thought struck: how would he handle the truth of his feelings tomorrow? As they stepped outside, the sound of crackling wood filled the air, mixing with the laughter of friends gathered around the bonfire. The flames danced in the night, casting amber glow on the faces illuminated by flickering light. Jake felt the warmth wrap around him like a hug, easing some of the tension still knotted in his chest. "Check this out," Kevin exclaimed, tossing a stick into the fire. It hissed and flared, drawing everyone's attention. Bonfire rules: tell a secret and throw something in. Who's first? Michaela's eyes sparkled with mischief. "I'll go. I've got a good one." She leaned in closer to the fire, her face radiating excitement. Jake felt compelled to listen, his heart pounding faster at the thought of sharing something intimate in return. As the others took turns revealing silly secrets, Jake's mind buzzed with 100 thoughts. What could he say? Would he share his fear of being vulnerable? Or the anxiety he felt standing on the brink of change? He swallowed hard, uncertain if he had the guts to expose those raw parts of himself. "Jake, you're up." Kevin's voice pulled him back, and all eyes turned expectantly to him. He hesitated. Yeah, I don't really have anything," he managed, feeling like a fraud. "No way." Michaela chimed in, her smile somehow both encouraging and challenging. "You've got something. Everyone has secrets." Jake felt the walls closing in again, but Michaela's gaze grounded him. It was as if they were in a bubble, one that made everything outside vanish. He inhaled deeply, the warm night air filling his lungs. "Okay, fine," he began, feeling a rush of adrenaline. "Maybe I've been afraid of what comes next. I don't want to go back to being the guy who hides behind jokes." The flicker of surprise washed over the group, followed by silence. Jake glanced at Michaela and saw her nodding, her expression encouraging. "Honestly, I feel that too, sometimes," Kevin admitted, breaking the stillness. "We all put on masks, right? It's easier that way." Michaela chimed in with a soft voice, We'd rather not risk getting hurt. The warmth of their connection filled Jake with an unexpected tenderness. He was not alone in this. You're not alone in this, Jake. The important part is you shared it, Michaela said, moving closer again. Now we can tackle it together. Jake's heart swelled. He had taken a risk by shining a light on his fears, and they were standing by him. It felt freeing, like letting go of a heavy weight he didn't know he was carrying. The night suddenly glowed brighter. Kevin grinned. Well, my secret's way less profound. I'm pretty sure my mom still hides Christmas presents in my closet. That sent the group into a fit of laughter, further bonding them. One after another, they shared their quirks, creating a sense of safety within the circle. With each confession, the air filled with joy. Jake looked around and saw smiles all around him. The flame flickered, but it was nothing compared to the warmth in his heart. For the first time, being open and raw didn't seem scary. It felt like power. As the fire crackled on, Jake turned to Michaela. What about you? What's your biggest secret? She hesitated, her smile fading for a moment. I sometimes wonder if I really belong. The words hung between them, heavy yet liberating. Every person there had their battles, their struggles hidden behind smiles. Jake felt the tug of understanding, igniting something deeper within him. I think we all belong together, he replied softly, and she met his gaze, realizing they were standing on the edge of something incredible. As laughter erupted again, Jake couldn't shake the excitement swirling in his chest. He had acknowledged his fears, connected deeply with friends, and together, they intertwined their secrets into an intricate web of support. Yet a haunting question lingered, was that enough? When the flames began to die down, and shadows danced closer, Jake turned to Kevin, who was poking at the embers. What happens if I really open up tomorrow? Will it all still be here? Kevin looked up, his expression thoughtful. You'll be surprised what happens when you let go of the past. Just be ready for whatever comes next. The night felt alive around him, and as the stars twinkled high above, anticipation hummed in the air. Jake realized he was closer to understanding his heart than ever before. But as he gazed into the fire, a sudden thought flickered just out of reach. What if facing the truth led to a discovery he never imagined? The fire crackled as the embers glowed, casting playful shadows on the faces of his friends. Jake's heart raced with newfound determination. They had shared secrets, and while he felt a weight lift, another one bubbled to the surface. He stared into the fire, the flames swirling, reflecting his thoughts. What awaited him in the morning? Would he have the strength to dive deeper into the feelings he had kept hidden for so long? Hey, you all right? Michaela's voice broke through his thoughts, gentle and curious. Her concern was palpable. Jake turned to her, her eyes shimmering with understanding. Yeah, just thinking about tomorrow. He took a breath, feeling the warmth of camaraderie surround him. Tomorrow was not just another day. It was his birthday. Are you excited? Kevin asked, nudging Jake playfully. But Jake could sense the undercurrent. Birthdays held both promise and expectations. I guess, he replied. The truth was, he had never been a fan of the spotlight. While his friends would celebrate, his thoughts spiraled into his own insecurities. I think you should use your day to really embrace who you are, man, Kevin said, leaning forward, firelight dancing in his eyes. What do you want to do? Jake shook his head, feeling the familiar tension knotting again in his stomach. I just want it to be, I don't know, normal? But the word felt wrong. Normal felt like hiding. The laughter around him began to fade as the conversation shifted to other secrets and dreams. Jake let out a soft sigh, grappling with a nagging feeling of discontent. He had shared his fears tonight, yet his heart still struggled with the idea of being fully real. Michaela kept watching him, her gaze steady. Jake, tomorrow is a chance to start fresh. Don't waste it. Yeah, totally. You've got friends who care, Kevin added, raising his drink in a mock toast. To Jake. the guy who finally steps into the light. Their cheers rang in the night, a sound both comforting and terrifying. Jake managed a smile, but in the back of his mind, doubts lingered. What if he failed to live up to their excitement? The happiness he wanted to embrace felt just out of reach, like a mirage that disappeared every time he reached for it. As the fire glowed lower, a subtle silence fell upon the group. The stars above twinkled brighter. For some reason, they felt like wishes. Have you ever wondered how it would feel to be completely free? Jake asked suddenly, his voice surprising even him. Michaela's expression softened. I think it's about acceptance. Accepting your flaws, your past. Only then can you truly be free. Her words sank in, stirring something inside him. He glanced around at his friends, their faces illuminated with honesty and warmth, the very qualities he yearned for. Perhaps this was the key, being free. But how? Could he truly let himself be seen? With the embers glowing gently, Jake made a decision. Let us make a pact, he said, feeling an adrenaline rush. Whatever happens tomorrow, we all promise to face it together. Secrets, fears, everything. They nodded, and a spark of unity ignited within the circle. It felt good to bare their souls, but Jake also felt a growing intensity simmering beneath the surface, a challenge waiting to be faced. Let us break down our walls, no matter what, he said firmly, meeting Michaela's gaze. As they each nodded in agreement, a determination settled around them. Tonight felt like a new beginning. The excitement was palpable, but amid the hope, a nagging thought emerged. What if dismantling those walls led to vulnerability that was scarier than he imagined? The night deepened, and the embers began to fade. Jake's thoughts drifted back to the shadows that danced with the fire. He stared into the depths of the glowing coals, wondering if tomorrow would reveal truths that would change everything. As they packed up to go back inside, Jake couldn't shake one last question. Would he be ready for whatever storm of emotions lay ahead on his birthday? As dawn crept through the curtains, its warmth kissed Jake's face gently, waking him from a restless sleep filled with swirling dreams of uncertainty and hope. Today was his birthday, the day he'd always imagined as unfolding in delightful simplicity. Yet, this year felt different. This year held the promise of truth, connection, and courage. It hovered just out of reach, pulsing like the rhythm of his racing heart. Jake glanced at the mirror. The young man staring back at him was a stranger and yet familiar. Today, he resolved to be honest, to step away from the shadows of who he believed he had to be. He wanted to be Jake, the real Jake, with all his flaws, fears, and dreams. The thought sent shivers down his spine. Alone in the kitchen, Jake poured himself a bowl of cereal, but the cheerful sound of crunching his Lucky Charms felt hollow without his mom joining him. She appeared moments later, hair still unkempt, yet the smile widening on her face transformed her sleepy state into sunshine. Happy birthday, birthday boy. She beamed, and in that moment, Jake's heart swelled. Thanks, Mom. I'm glad you're here, he said, realizing how much he appreciated her presence. Any big plans today? She asked, pouring herself a cup of coffee. Nerves fluttered in Jake's stomach. Did he want to admit his fears fostered from the party? How could he explain without sounding childish or overwhelmed? Yet, as he stared at her, that little voice of wisdom surfaced once again. The journey starts with honesty. Actually, yeah. I want to embrace my day differently this time, he began, his voice shaking. I want to be honest. Every day isn't perfect, and that's okay. Her eyes sparkled with understanding. That sounds great, Jake. Change is good, and it's brave to accept that not everything will be shiny. Jake nodded, her acceptance ignited a flicker of courage in him. As he finished breakfast, Jake's mind buzzed with possibilities, but the elephant in the room still loomed large. What if his vulnerability led to rejection? His heart pounded as he remembered the pact he made with his friends around the bonfire. Today wasn't just about the parties or the gifts, it was about finding himself amidst the chaos of youth. When Jake stepped outside, the sun held a gold hue, with whispers of the plans waiting ahead. His phone buzzed, messages rolled in, wishing him a happy birthday. Time passed faster as he prepared himself for the afternoon ahead. Would he face Michaela and share his truths? What if, surrounded by laughter, he still felt like an imposter? Jake arrived at the park, and the sight of fluttering balloons and gathered friends made his breath hitch. He spotted Michaela, her smile radiating warmth. She approached him, her voice buoyant. "You ready for a birthday party that's gonna kick off your new year?" "More than ever," he replied. But his heart raced. This was it. A test of courage unfolded. The day flowed in a blend of games, laughter, and light, but Jake's mind felt like a forgotten puzzle with missing pieces. Conversations flowed, and hidden behind the chatter, he wrestled with his thoughts. Finally, he felt that gentle push, the desire to be truly seen. "Hey, guys!" Jake called out as the sunlight slanted down, illuminating the group. Everything hushed momentarily, eyes shifting toward him. "I've got something I want to say. Today's my birthday, yeah, but it's also a chance for me to start new. I want to be real with you all." His voice wavered, but now that he'd begun, the words spilled out. "I know I haven't always been honest about my insecurities. I've tried so hard to fit in, to make everyone like me, but I keep realizing that it's exhausting, almost fake. And I've hurt people along the way." The silence was thick yet palpable, a strong companionship forming as they listened, genuinely absorbed. Michaela stepped forward, her gaze full of respect. "Jake, that takes a lot of courage. I see you trying, and it's okay to feel lost sometimes." That honesty felt liberating, his heart now filled with a lightness he hadn't felt in ages. The smile of his friends surrounded him like a protective shield, lifting the weight from his shoulders. "Exactly, we're all searching, man," Kevin joined in, reassuringly nudging Jake's shoulder. "And it's okay to mess up. We're in this together." The pervasive warmth permeated the air, filling the gaps once lost in confusion. Just as shadows began to fade, Jonathan chimed in. "You're a great guy, Jake. Thanks for opening up. I think we all need to remember it's fine to not have it all figured out." Laughter erupted, lightening the atmosphere, and for the first time that day, Jake felt a full-fledged wave of joy crashing over him. As the party unfolded, the delicious cake was brought out, its frosting shimmering like an invitation. Each slice shared became a moment of connection, a celebration of imperfections woven into the fabric of their friendships. When the time came to blow out the candles, Jake gazed into the flickering flames. They danced vibrantly under the sky. As whispers filled the air, he made his simple secret wish to always prioritize being true to himself and those he loved. The climactic moment drew near, everyone counted down together. 3, 2, 1. Blow. The candles extinguished, and the sweet taste of cake melted in their mouths as euphoria echoed around him. The celebration flowed into the evening, an unspoken promise blooming that day, a commitment to the vulnerability that had sparked renewed kindness. Later, as they gathered around a fire again, blankets wrapped around their shoulders, Jake's heart pulsed with hope. A new chapter had begun, and their laughter blended into the twilight. Could he hold on to this feeling beyond this day? Would they continue exploring the depths of their friendship? That afternoon became a catalyst, a stepping stone toward transformations for all of them. Jake basked in the warmth of familiarity, acceptance, and a newfound belief that with honesty, anything was possible. As the stars shone brightly above, a familiar question flickered through his mind: could he keep this spirit alive tomorrow? Would he be brave enough to embrace love, acceptance, and growth? That remained the true adventure ahead, opening doors to be traveled, deeper friendships to forge. Remembering a moment of vulnerability he experienced the night before, Jake smiled beneath the stars, ready for whatever tomorrow might bring. Now was the moment to embrace life unfolding each day in its complexity. It was never just about fitting in, but rather discovering the brave soul he was meant to be, the heart that could love fiercely and accept equally. The last lingering embers of the fire dimmed, but in their place, new hopes ignited. Tomorrow would bring the promise of continued growth. It was a day he would welcome with open arms. This was just the beginning, the real journey toward authenticity, acceptance, and so much more than he ever imagined. This was it now. You need to subscribe to ensure you catch every heartwarming chapter like Jake's transformation. Leave a like now to fuel our stories and help spread the word. Comment below your thoughts and feelings. We love hearing from you. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need this inspiration. Don't wait, not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep this journey alive together.